Cold cases, unsolved crimes, and mysterious disappearances are all things that I love to explore. And I know you do too, you intellectually curious creature of the night. Before we dive into today's spine-chilling cases, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. Winks in Australian. Today, we're heading down under to uncover three of Australia's most baffling cold cases that will make your Tim Tam slip right out of your hand. And if you think Australian wildlife is scary, wait until you hear these stories. On June 22nd, 1975, the glittering nightlife of Perth, Western Australia, was about to be forever changed. Shirley Finn, a 33-year-old brothel madam known for her flashy style and high-profile connections, was found slumped in her white Dodge Phoenix at the Royal Perth Golf Course. Now, if you're thinking this was just another crime of passion, hold on to your kangaroo, because this case goes deeper than a wombat's burrow. Quick pause if you're enjoying the story so far. Smash that like button faster than a kangaroo on a sugar rush. Shirley wasn't just any businesswoman. She was Perth's notorious brothel queen, running a string of high-end establishments that allegedly catered to some of the city's most powerful figures. And here's where it gets interesting. Just 2 days before her death, she told her driver she had a meeting with the head man to discuss a $100,000 tax bill. That's like $1 million in today's money, mate. The crime scene was something straight out of a Hollywood movie. Finn was found wearing an elaborate ball gown, sitting behind the wheel of her luxury car, with 4 bullet holes in the back of her head. Talk about dressing to kill. Though in this case, she was sadly the victim. What makes this case particularly fascinating is the web of corruption it potentially unveiled. We're talking about allegations involving senior police officers, prominent politicians, and enough conspiracy theories to fill the Sydney Opera House twice over. And if you think that's wild, wait till you hear about the witnesses. Multiple witnesses came forward over the years, each with their own piece of the puzzle. One claimed to have seen Finn in her car with 3 men in suits on the night of her murder. Another witnessed a police officer at the scene. But here's the kicker. Many of these witnesses mysteriously changed their stories or, even more suspiciously, met unfortunate ends themselves. If you're still with me and your mind isn't completely blown yet, you might want to hit that notification bell. Trust me, the cases we're about to cover next are even more bizarre. A 2017 inquest into Finn's death revealed shocking allegations of police corruption, with claims that senior officers were not only aware of her murder, but may have been involved. One witness even testified that a former vice squad chief bragged about the killing. Talk about taking protect and serve in the wrong direction. Despite numerous investigations, including the 2017 inquest, Shirley Finn's murder remains unsolved. Her daughter, Bridget Shearing, continues to fight for justice, proving that some family bonds are stronger than time itself. The most chilling aspect of this case, the murder weapon, believed to be a .22 caliber rifle, was never found. Some speculate it might have been a police-issued weapon, which would explain why it vanished faster than my motivation to go to the gym. Before we move on to our next mind-bending case, if you've made it this far without checking under your bed for mysterious figures in suits, you're braver than most. Don't forget to leave a comment below telling me what you think happened to Shirley Finn. Was it a police hit, a political assassination, or something even more sinister? But if you think Shirley Finn's case is mysterious, wait until you hear about our next victim, Donald Bruce Mackay. His story involves drugs, small-town politics, and a disappearance that would shake an entire community to its core. Speaking of disappearances that shook Australia to its core, buckle up, Buttercup, because this next case is wilder than a dingo in a disco. Donald Bruce Mackay wasn't your typical small-town businessman. Living in Griffith, New South Wales, he was a furniture store owner, Liberal Party candidate, and anti-drugs campaigner who had the courage, or perhaps the misfortune, to stand up against one of Australia's most notorious marijuana operations. And no, we're not talking about your neighbor's suspicious-looking herb garden. If you're loving these true crime tales, hit that like button harder than Donald hit the local drug trade. On July 15, 1977, Mackay walked out of the Griffith Hotel's car park and poof, disappeared faster than my last paycheck. The only trace left behind? 3 bullet casings and a large pool of blood next to his van. His body, never found. Hotel California might check out any time you like, but in Griffith, some people just vanish. Now, here's where things get more twisted than a pretzel in a tornado. Griffith wasn't just any quiet country town. It was the heart of what authorities called the Grass Castle, Australia's largest marijuana growing operation. We're talking about a $25 million a year industry in 1977 dollars. Mind you, that's like Jeff Bezos' pocket change today. Speaking of green stuff, you know what's free? Hitting that subscribe button. Do it now or I'll tell more bad drug puns. Before his disappearance, Mackay had become a major thorn in the side of the local marijuana growers. In 1974, he provided information that led to police seizing cannabis crops worth millions. The local criminals were about as happy with this as a vegetarian at a barbecue competition. Multiple investigations revealed that Mackay's murder was allegedly ordered by the Griffith Gang, a group of Italian-Australian marijuana growers with connections to the Ndrangheta crime syndicate. Yes, you heard that right. We're talking about the Italian mafia in rural Australia. Talk about a culture clash. 6 men were allegedly involved in the hit, with James Frederick Basley later convicted of conspiracy to murder Mackay. However, Basley maintained his innocence until his death in 2018, because obviously, all those witnesses who placed him at the scene were just confused about seeing his identical twin, who didn't exist. If you're still following this twisted tale, drop a flower in the comments. No, not because of the marijuana connection. It's just a symbol of justice. Yeah, let's go with that. The investigation revealed that Mackay was likely shot in the head and his body disposed of in a well sealed with concrete on a property outside Griffith. Despite numerous searches, his remains have never been found. It's like playing the world's most morbid game of hide and seek. The aftermath of Mackay's disappearance led to the Woodward Royal Commission, which exposed the extent of organized crime in Griffith. The commission concluded that the Ndrangheta had ordered the hit, making this the first publicly documented case of Italian organized crime activity in Australia. And they weren't exactly running illegal pasta operations. What makes this case particularly chilling is how it exposed the dark underbelly of rural Australia. Behind the sunny facades and friendly G-Day mates lurked an organized crime network that would make Tony Soprano nervous. Another quick reminder if these revelations are making your jaw drop. Make sure you're subscribed because our next case is going to make this one look like an episode of Bluey. The legacy of Donald Mackay lives on, not just as Australia's first political assassination, but as a reminder of what can happen when one person dares to stand up against organized crime. His disappearance led to significant changes in Australian law enforcement and drug policy, proving that sometimes the most powerful voice is the one that's silenced. But if you think this case is disturbing, wait until you hear about our final victim, Mima McKim-Hill. Her story involves a mysterious journey, a baffling series of events, and a murder that would haunt a generation. Now, let's dive into our final case, one that's more mysterious than trying to understand why Vegemite is considered food. February 9th, 1967, a day that started like any other in Queensland, but would end in one of Australia's most puzzling murders. Mima McKim-Hill, a 21-year-old secretary with a bright smile and an even brighter future, left her workplace in Townsville for what should have been a routine drive to Atherton. Spoiler alert, it wasn't routine at all. Quick engagement reminder if you've made it this far, without checking your car's backseat. You're braver than me. Show some support by hitting that like button faster than Mima's car on that fateful day. Now, here's where things get more confusing than a platypus at a mammal convention. Mima was driving her employer's FC Holden, heading to visit her sick father. She had about $200 in her purse. That's around $2,600 in today's money, enough for quite a few meat pies and lamingtons. The journey should have taken about 4 hours. Instead, It became a 48-hour mystery that still baffles investigators today. The first red flag? Mima was spotted at a service station in Home Hill, driving in the opposite direction from her destination. That's like heading to Sydney but ending up in Perth. Something wasn't adding up. What happened next reads like a script from a horror movie, except this was terrifyingly real. Multiple witnesses reported seeing Mima's car being driven by a man while she sat in the passenger seat looking distressed. One witness even claimed to have seen her mouth the words "help me," though this detail wasn't reported until years later. Remember, folks, this is why we don't pick up hitchhikers, even if they're wearing a Crocodile Dundee hat. 2 days after she disappeared, Mima's body was found in a ditch near Rita Island. She had been strangled with her own stockings. The FC Holden, found abandoned at the Townsville railway station, wiped clean of fingerprints. Whoever did this was either extremely lucky or knew exactly what they were doing. If you need a moment to process this, use it to smash that subscribe button. Trust me, it's therapeutic. The investigation revealed some fascinating details that would make Sherlock Holmes scratch his head. Mima's shoes were found neatly placed beside her body, a detail that haunted investigators for years. Who takes the time to arrange shoes at a crime scene? It's like the killer was part murderer, part feng shui consultant. But here's where it gets even weirder. A local man claimed he saw Mima with a well-dressed stranger at a hotel in Brandon. The stranger was described as wearing a suit in North Queensland summer heat. Mate, that's more suspicious than a vegetarian at a barbecue competition. Drop a shoe emoji comment if you think the shoe detail is significant. Or just drop any emoji if you're too creeped out to think about shoes right now. The police investigation was extensive but ultimately fruitless. They interviewed hundreds of witnesses, including every registered owner of an FC Holden in North Queensland. That's like trying to find a specific kangaroo in the outback. Technically possible, but incredibly challenging. One theory suggested that Mima might have known her killer, given that she apparently went willingly in the wrong direction. Others believe she was a victim of an opportunistic predator who managed to convince her to help with some made-up emergency. Either way, someone got away with murder. The case has haunted Queensland police for over 5 decades. Despite numerous reviews and investigations, including a major case review in the 1980s, Mima's killer has never been found. The only witness to the actual crime might have been the cane fields that stretched endlessly along the highway, and unfortunately they're not talking. Final reminder for this case, if these unsolved mysteries keep you up at night like they do me, make sure you're subscribed. Our channel is like a support group for true crime addicts. These 3 cases, Shirley Finn, Donald Mackay, and Mima McKim-Hill, represent just a fraction of Australia's unsolved mysteries. They remind us that behind the sunny beaches and friendly faces, dark secrets lurk in the land down under.